I've debated this with friends, online forums, even strangers at the barbershop. And it always ends the same way, one side screaming, 6 rings, while the other fires back, all-time leading scorer. But today, we're going beyond the surface-level arguments. We're breaking down because let's be real, LeBron has already done the impossible. He's still playing at an elite level after 2 decades, rewriting the record books in ways we never thought possible. But does that make him the GOAT? Or is there some case against LeBron being the GOAT? The 2011 collapse, LeBron's Waterloo moment. Every king has a battle he wishes he could redo, a moment where everything crumbles, and the world watches as the empire he built teeters on the edge of destruction. For LeBron James, that moment wasn't just any defeat. It was a public unmasking, his Waterloo, his Achilles heel exposed for the world to see. The Miami Heat's newly formed Big Three, LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, were supposed to steamroll the league like a runaway freight train. They were basketball's version of the Avengers, 3 superheroes assembled to dominate. But standing in their way? Not a super team. Not another dynasty. Just one lone warrior with a flamethrower in his hands, Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk, the unassuming assassin, wasn't supposed to win this fight. His Mavericks were seen as a scrappy band of misfits, a crew of veterans who had tasted playoff disappointment more times than a gambler losing on a bad hand. But while LeBron and the Heat had the flash and the firepower, the numbers that haunt him. Game 4, 8 points. His lowest playoff output ever. Game 2, up by 15 points in the fourth quarter, LeBron scores just 3 points. Entire finals, he averaged just 17.8 points per game, a staggering drop from his regular season dominance. For perspective? That's like Superman suddenly losing his ability to fly mid-battle. Meanwhile, Dirk Nowitzki, playing through a 101-degree fever, kept throwing daggers like a gunslinger in the Wild West. Dirk wasn't just winning, he was taking LeBron's soul one fadeaway jumper at a time. The moment that stuck like a bad tattoo. ESPN's Zach Lowe later wrote, LeBron looked lost, almost afraid to take the big shot. It was like watching a boxer enter the final round, but instead of throwing punches, he just covered up and waited for the bell. Jordan never had a moment like this. Even when he struggled, he found ways to leave his fingerprints on the game. He'd grab rebounds. He'd play lockdown defense. He'd hit just enough shots to tilt the battle in his favor. LeBron? He was a ghost in his own story. And this wasn't just one bad series. There have been multiple moments where he seemed to short-circuit in crunch time, like a machine overloaded in the most critical moments. Jordan? He thrived in the fire. He didn't just win games, he ripped the opponent's heart straight out of their chest like a Mortal Kombat finisher. That's the difference. And for many, that's why LeBron will never be the GOAT. Super teams, the double-edged sword of LeBron's legacy. GOATs are supposed to build dynasties, not hop from castle to castle. Michael Jordan didn't run from the battle, he was the battle. He planted his flag in Chicago and refused to leave until the kingdom was his. He didn't cherry-pick his teammates, he made them better. LeBron? He's more like a basketball mercenary, jumping from one team to another like a warrior searching for the strongest army to join. Every time the kingdom started crumbling, he packed his bags, seeking a new stronghold. In Miami, he had Wade and Bosh. In Cleveland, he had Kyrie and Kevin Love. In LA, he brought in Anthony Davis. Where Jordan built an empire brick by brick, LeBron moved from castle to castle, making sure he had the best nights by his side. Does that take away from his greatness? Not necessarily. It's in a casino. Even Jordan had help. Let's be real, Jordan played with Scottie Pippen, the best number 2 in NBA history. A player so good that the Bulls still made the playoffs the year Jordan retired. And then there was Dennis Rodman, a defensive menace, a rebounding machine, and the kind of player who could get inside an opponent's head and live there rent-free. And let's not forget other all-time great teams. The Shaq-Kobe Lakers? Super team. The Celtics of the 80s? Super team. Magic Johnson's Lakers? Super team. Even Bill Russell's Celtics had a stacked lineup of Hall of Famers. So, if we're being fair, shouldn't we judge LeBron by the standards of his own era? The LeBron double standard. If LeBron had never left Cleveland, and still managed to win 4 rings, would we even be having this discussion? The problem isn't just that he joined super teams. It's that he left. Jordan stayed. Kobe stayed. Duncan stayed. That loyalty made their stories feel mythical. They weren't just great players, they were warriors who conquered their battlefield without retreating. LeBron's journey? It's more like a nomadic king, one who had to conquer different lands to keep his reign alive. Some see that as adaptability, the mark of a true great. Others see it as opportunism, a GOAT who couldn't win unless he picked his teammates. And that's why, for many, his rings will always have an asterisk. The case for LeBron being the GOAT. Longevity, the king who refuses to fall. LeBron James isn't just breaking records, he's rewriting the very definition of athletic longevity. Think about this, he's been playing at an elite level longer than some NBA fans have been alive. Most players, even legends, experience a clear rise, peak, and decline. Their primes last a decade at best, and then age starts chiseling away at their explosiveness, their durability, their dominance. Jordan's prime lasted about 11 seasons before he retired, twice. Kobe Bryant was an MVP-level force for roughly 12 years before injuries and age slowed him down. But LeBron? He's been at the top for 21 years, and counting. Let's put that into perspective. LeBron faced prime Kobe Bryant in 2005 and is still going toe-to-toe with Victor Wembanyama in 2024. He has survived multiple generations of basketball and still dominates. That's not just longevity, that's basketball immortality. If greatness is about sustained excellence, then LeBron's case is unmatched. He isn't just playing, he's still competing at an MVP level while most players his age are either retired or playing limited minutes off the bench. And the numbers? They tell the same story. He's the all-time leading scorer, a record once thought to be untouchable. He's top 5 in assists, as a forward, redefining playmaking from his position. He's the only player in NBA history with 40,000 plus points, 10,000 plus assists, and 10,000 plus rebounds. That's not just greatness, that's something we've never seen before. LeBron's clutch gene, a myth busted. One of the biggest misconceptions in NBA history is that LeBron isn't clutch. For years, critics have painted a narrative that he shies away from big moments, that he passes instead of taking the final shot. But does that narrative hold up when we look at the cold, hard numbers? Let's break it down. LeBron has more game-winning playoff buzzer beaters than Jordan. LeBron shoots a higher percentage in clutch-time playoff moments. He's delivered dagger shots when it mattered most, including 2018 Game 7 versus the Pacers, a performance so dominant it felt like he was playing against high schoolers. The 2013 Finals versus the Spurs, his clutch three-pointer in Game 6 before Ray Allen's legendary shot. The 2016 NBA Finals, the block. And speaking of the block, let's break it down. The block, a play that defined a legacy. It's Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals. 2 minutes left. Tie game. The Warriors, a 73-win team, are seconds away from cementing themselves as the greatest team of all time. Andre Iguodala gets the ball on a fast break. He glides toward the rim, ready to put Cleveland's dreams to bed. Game over, right? Block. Cleveland probably loses the finals. Instead, that single defensive masterpiece set up Kyrie Irving's game-winning three and sealed one of the greatest comebacks in sports history. And yet, people still say LeBron isn't clutch? If that's not clutch, what is? The X Factor, the myth of the GOAT. Jordan was perfect. Or was he? Michael Jordan's career plays out like a Hollywood masterpiece. The 6 rings, the final shot against Utah, the undefeated finals record, it's the kind of storybook ending that makes legends untouchable. But here's the thing, he got to retire as a legend. He walked away while his aura was still gold-plated, his legacy untouched by time. LeBron? He's not playing in a fairy tale, he's playing in a fishbowl. Every move he makes is watched, dissected, and debated in real time like a scientist studying an exotic specimen under a microscope. He doesn't get the luxury of nostalgia protecting his mistakes. He plays in an era where every flaw is amplified like a blemish under HD lighting. Jordan never had to deal with Twitter trolls launching insults like three-pointers after every off night. He never had Skip Bayless treating his name like a piñata on national TV, swinging at him every morning on Undisputed. Every missed shot, every playoff loss, every decision, LeBron has lived through 2 decades of real-time judgment. His failures aren't distant memories softened by time, they are trending topics within seconds. And yet, he's still standing. Still dominant. Still chasing greatness while the world waits for him to stumble. Jordan's legacy was preserved like an ancient artifact, protected from the erosion of social media scrutiny. LeBron? He spent his entire career in the eye of a never-ending storm, and yet, he continues to defy the winds, refusing to fall. And that, more than anything, makes his case for GOAT status a debate worth having. Final verdict and call to action. So, here's the truth, there is no definitive answer. The GOAT debate isn't dominance, and the kind of cold-blooded killer instinct that left opponents broken before the game even started. Then Jordan is your GOAT. He was the assassin in sneakers, a player who didn't just win, he devoured his competition like a wolf among sheep. But if you value longevity, versatility, and a player who shattered expectations year after year while evolving the game itself, then you might have to call LeBron the greatest. He's the chess master of basketball, adjusting, adapting, and playing the long game while GOAT. What if we're so caught up in this debate that we fail to see the next evolution of greatness unfolding before us? With Victor Wembanyama, Luka Doncic, and the next generation of basketball phenoms rising before our eyes, what if the greatest player of all time hasn't even been born yet? What if, years from now, we look back at this debate and realize that we were arguing about gods while a new titan was just beginning his journey? So now, it's your turn. Who's your GOAT? Jordan? LeBron? Someone else? Drop your pick in the comments and let's settle this once and for all. And if you love deep dive NBA debates, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this conversation is far from over. Because in basketball, greatness isn't just about what's happened. It's about what's coming next.